Hello, in this video we are going to just reinforce how to output variables of different types. To start off with, I've created 3, and actually let's create 4 variable types. Let's put a flag here and we're going to set it to true. Okay, so we have our 4 basic types. We have name, which is a string, we have age, which is an integer, we have height, which is a float, and we have flag, which is true. And what we've been talking about is this idea of when we save variables, type matters, and depending on the type, the program will store the variables differently and be able to therefore use them differently. So if I try and do something like print hi, name, and I'm going to print you are age old, right? Something like this. If I save this right now and I say Python 3 outputs, we get an error. And the reason we get an error here is because this first line we notice we get hi Paul, but then it says there's an error on line 7, and that is because age is a type that is an integer, so I can't concatenate it. So to solve this problem, I cast age to a string. So I do this, and there it works, no problems. Print you are, and now if I want to put their height, I'm going to say str height, centimeters, cm tall, and something like print it is that you like pizza. And again, we're going to cast this to a string. So if I save this now and I give this a run, let's get rid of that. Hi Paul, you are 56 years old, you are 6.3 centimeters tall. It is true that you like pizza. So in all of these cases, what we've done is in order to use them in output, we have to cast them to a type that is string. So let's comment this out now, and I can do a block comment by doing 3 and 3. And let's just highlight a shortcut method that people will sometimes use when they're programming. I don't typically use this when I'm teaching students how to program because this idea of casting is really important, and this reinforces the idea even though it's additional typing. So what I've done is I've copied it down below, and it works exactly the same. So one thing we can do is, programming languages are all about, changing and making things easier, and eventually people realized they didn't like writing this out every time. So it turns out you can actually concatenate non-numeric or non-string types by using a comma. So I can take this and I can replace the plus with a comma, and if I do that, it will allow me to concatenate things whether they're strings or not. Now, one of the things that happens with this, when I use this comma notation, is that it will add an additional space in. So see here how I have one space there? If I run this now, back over here. 1 second, please. I might have had a little hiccup there because my screen froze, but back to this. So what we can do is that if they're non-string types, we can concatenate them using a comma. But what this does is actually introduce an additional space. So if I come in here and I say Python 3 and I say output, so I output it, notice here, it's hard to tell, but there's actually 2 spaces here. And even though, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but this attention to detail is really important when you're doing our first little task, which is that Mad Libs we're creating, because I don't want there to be 2 spaces. I want you to show me that you understand how this comma works. And so if you're using the comma, you're actually going to get rid of the spaces that we've put in manually on either side. So let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of this one. And now notice, there it is. So this is how we output, and the key thing is that remember, when you output, we sometimes will concatenate strings inside that print function, and if we're concatenating and it's not a string type, we have to cast it to a string type, and we can use this comma as a short form notation. With that, have a wonderful day, and please feel free to send along any questions.